Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spin Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about the new album from Adele called 25. Does this really need any introduction, at all? I mean, this might be the only review I've done where it's over a week after the initial release, and I'm still convinced this is going to be one of my most viewed videos. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. Now, even though I said back in my Foster the People review from a while back that they might have been partially responsible for bringing more authentic music back to the US pop charts back in 2011, I've thought about it since then, and I really think the most credit could be given to Adele. Her huge, powerful voice and great singles crossing over, like Rolling in the Deep, Set Fire to the Rain, and even Chasing Pavements to a lesser degree off her debut 19, really gave the general public a much-needed slap in the face and a reminder that, hey, maybe we should be giving deserving artists the spotlight for once. Just a thought. While I can't say I loved every song on 19 or 21, I was still really looking forward to what she would do next, especially as the wait kept getting longer and longer, with this new album 25 coming nearly 5 years after 21, which I do have to give her credit for because since she sold the most amount of records in both 2011 and 2012, she very easily could have just capitalized on that. And the release of this album was it was a bigger moneymaker for record stores than the actual Record Store Day Black Friday event. Seriously, if she decided to release this last week instead of the week before, then the world would have basically collapsed in on itself into a black hole of consumerism and housewife tears. And I'm proud to say that after all this hype, all this excitement, all this gargantuan media coverage, it's good. Just good. Nothing spectacular, nothing bad, just a good Adele album. I'll put it like this. It's kind of in that same lane as what 1989 was last year, for example. Definitely a big event culturally and in the general music landscape, and there's definitely some quality there, but I'm not quite sure if it's a great album on its own merits. Now, of course, I've got to start with Hello, since it's the lead single, the opening track, and captures a lot of my thoughts on this album in one song. It's a very well-written ballad about regretting how badly a breakup went, and coming off of the more straightforward breakup theme of 21, songs like this come off very refreshing and smartly self-aware. The problem for me comes in the production that doesn't fit with the song. It starts out fine, but then after the first chorus, someone must have tripped and fell on the effects board or something, because suddenly everything gets washed out and just ends up fading out as ambient noise for Adele's voice, which, I'm not complaining about being front and center, but it makes the song not nearly as powerful as it could have been. Now, the lyrics for the most part on this album follow in a similar vein, in that it involves conversations with old flames, as well as more straightforward love songs about her current relationship, and I have to say that the stuff in the latter category works a lot better in my opinion than the former. It's really where she comes off the most likable. Songs like Remedy and Sweetest Devotion have a certain earnestness to them that I found pretty endearing. Not to mention I Miss You is proof that a modern mainstream pop singer can pull off sexy without looking desperate and pathetic. Meanwhile, on Water Under the Bridge, she's lovingly teasing a guy for being worried about the state of their relationship, even though things are going perfectly well. It comes with a charming little smirk, even though I can picture some people interpreting it a little more dysfunctionally. And speaking of dysfunction, here's my main issue with the more breakup-centric songs on here. Everything one of these songs takes 3 to 5 minutes to talk about, Hello does in a more compelling way in just a couple lines. In a weird kind of way, it hurts this album because it was the lead single and opening track. It's kind of like when you watch a really great movie and then they remake it as a mini-series with all these extra subplots that only take away from the point, or just stretch it out to lessen the impact. If anything, I found the most interesting songs here from a lyrical perspective are the ones that don't fall into either of these categories. Take Million Years Ago, for example, where she talks about leaving home for a long time, coming back, and feeling like you just don't belong there anymore. It's pretty heartbreaking, and Adele conveys that perfectly here. Though even more intriguing and impressive to me is River Lee, where she actually echoes the dwelling too much criticisms she commonly gets, and admits that she's worried what'll happen if she writes as happy as she's feeling, for fear that it'll get rid of her initial appeal. I really gotta give credit to her here for this unexpected blast of fourth wall breaking self-commentary, especially for an artist as monumentally commercially huge as Adele to just deconstruct the very nature of her popularity. I don't have any transitions, so let's talk about the actual music, where maybe my biggest criticism comes in. Let me just show you these liner notes. Out of 11 songs on this album, there are 5 songs that feature drums. Look, I have nothing against a stripped back piano ballad, but when 3 songs in a row in the back half go by without any form of percussion, your album's gonna lose some momentum after a while. Going back to 19 and 21, moments like Hometown Glory and Turning Tables worked like they did partially because they came in moderation and acted as palate cleansers. Sure, Adele is known as very emotionally effective, but she also knew when to put in some soulful flair or a bluesy, rollicking groove to get the album some extra life and flavor, instead of just resting 100% on the balladry like she kinda does on 25. And naturally, a lot of the best moments on here to me are when there's more going on in the instrumentation, or she takes some risks. Not always, mind you. Case in point, the Max Martin and Shellback produced mess, Send My Love to Your New Lover, which goes against every one of Adele's strengths to a face-palming degree. But then Water Under the Bridge goes for more of a smooth R&B feel with a nice muted guitar part in the mix. I Miss You is powered by these huge tom-heavy drums and some of Adele's best self-backing vocals to date, a really underappreciated part of her songwriting, by the way. River Lee is note for note what you'd expect an Adele Danger Mouse collab to sound like, but still comes out fine enough. And Sweetest Devotion ends on a truly bombastic note with even a slight country twang that reminds me a little of that last Grace Potter and the Nocturnals album. But here's the thing, moments like this came on at least more than half of her last 2 albums, which is why I consider 25 just a hair below those last 2. But while to me it's not worth all the hype and record shattering, it's still a fine enough comeback, and I'm gonna give it a 7. Plus, it's always nice to see someone with some raw talent promoted in the mainstream, and I can't complain about that. So if you guys have heard this album, what do you think about it? Do you agree with what I had to say? Do you disagree? Have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below. Share this round with anyone who might be interested. Like my Facebook and Twitter pages in the description down below. And hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin It Reviews. AdSense money!